welcome back to Dogs and Gooses, where the dogs are dirty and the gooses silly.
Ain't that the truth?
Guys, this is our 20th episode,
Oh my word.
which I'm going to be honest with you, I can't count that high. So it sounds sure like a lot. Williams, is 20 a lot?
Well, that's a relative thing, you know?
Oh, okay. What's the word relative mean? Wait, no, I know.
Do you want to go
I
into
have an
philosophies
aunt
right now?
like that. My aunt is my relative, right?
Mm,
Right, Williams?
that's true.
Okay.
That's true.
Well, perfect. All right, guys. Welcome back for our 20th episode. You guys better have been eating, okay? Once again,
In drinking.
eat and drink, hopefully healthy foods, but we will settle for just generally eating, okay?
Yeah.
That's an
Keep
important
yourself alive.
thing. Yep. For this 20th episode, we are bringing back our news segment, which Williams will be heading up, and then we will get to the nitty-gritty.
All right. Well, I found a couple pieces of choice news. First and foremost, now this took place in April, but April was just around the corner, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, it was like yesterday.
Yeah. Chicago's, quote, rat hole is removed after the city determined the sidewalk was damaged. So there was a hole in the sidewalk. When they poured the cement, like a rat must have, sat in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can kind of see a picture of it there. And in your mind, just imagine the concrete sidewalk with a rat-shaped hole in it.
It seriously is. There's like a big rat-shaped hole.
And sadly, I guess they filled it in because they considered it damaged. Which I've never been to Chicago, Starks, never.
Uh-huh.
And who knows? I may never go. I don't know. I'm not saying that I have any hate towards Chicago or whatever, but knowing larger cities like that and knowing that's an older city, I imagine all the potholes they probably have and how instead of fixing those,
They fixed the rat hole.
that I'm sure became kind of beloved.
Uh-huh.
People be like, "That's the rat hole," because I think I've seen a couple of small videos on it or something.
That's fair.
Like that, or that mention it, or like meme associated with it.
I think we lost a great piece of art today.
We did. Well, I mean, in April.
In April,
we lost that.
We lost a great piece of art in April. Is what I meant to say.
Yeah. So, but I guess. Well, let me. So yeah, it had become a quirk of a residential block. So it was the middle of the part where people live. For years, it says. But a post on social media brought it new fame, which neighbors found to be a nuisance.
Oh, and really? Because people probably went and looked at it.
Yeah. So this is on NPR or whatever. But that's kind of funny. Another news article I found, which I thought was strange, but it came from Europe, so it makes sense.
Fair enough. They'd be doing weird things over there.
Yeah, in Paris, apparently, there is a server speed walk. I think I see server,
really?
but like server, like the people who serve you
food.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a speed walk through Paris, and so it says that this is also on NPR or whatever, some 200 servers speed walk through Paris, balancing trays of beverages and croissants on Sunday. And although this was in March, but it happened somewhat recently.
Yeah.
And it says that it hadn't had the race since 2011. They brought it back ahead of the Olympics or something like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I mean, look at all those hooligans. It's a small picture. Let me see if there, I'm zooming in.
Good man.
Look at all those hooligans just speed walking with trays of food through
those
Paris.
are weak trays.
I've
seen trays with way more food.
How do you get that to be a tradition? Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I want stronger servers is what I want. Those trays had like a croissant and a glass of water on them.
Well, Starks, to be honest, this is America. Over there in Europe, that's probably like a feast.
Oh, that feeds a family of 4.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
They have a very different culture. Not near as cool of a culture.
Well, I will say you make a good point, Williams.
Yeah. And the last piece of news, although it's not crazy, Starks, is the 4th of July. This past week.
What? No way.
The kind of the birthday of our nation is the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Really, is what happened.
Okay.
In 1776, July 4th.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good, wasn't it?
It was. It's a good day.
We went over, saw saw your sister and her family and stuff. And
Yeah, we had a good weekend. We went and spent the weekend with Kelsey. We've given shout outs on the show before. She will be on soon, and along with her children's, Jonah and Casper. Shout out to them.
For sure, for sure.
So we had a great time with them.
Yeah, it was a blast. We saw the fireworks. Lots of good ones.
Yeah. No, there was quite a few going off over here in
And
Utah.
we weren't even watching the Stadium of Fire. We were watching just ones that people had in neighborhoods and kind of like around the Payson area, I think, or whatever. There's some decent fireworks.
Yeah,
I was
there was
surprised for that area. You know what I'm saying?
no, there was quite a few. It's gotten to the point where almost the old city fireworks are just commonplace among, like,
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, you'd see the city fireworks and they were the huge blossoming ones. And then you'd see like somebody shoot like these tall ones up that didn't do much exploding at the top.
The
But
cities need to step up their game if they're going to compete.
they do. They do. They need to start writing the name of their city in fireworks.
Now, I've seen some cool ones. Okay, I used to live in Montana in this little, well, I say small town. It's one of the top 10 populated and or of population wise, in Montana, which isn't necessarily saying a lot, um, but they put on a good fireworks show each year. Like even though in Montana, like basically pretty much all the fireworks are illegal, and so people were launching off some good stuff, but still the city definitely and definitively topped it. You know what I'm saying? It was a good fireworks show.
That's really funny. Especially because they're all illegal.
Well, yeah, not in Montana.
Oh goodness. Um, is that our news segment for the day, Williams?
That is. So I turn the time back over to you, Starks.
Okay. Well, you hit the nose. You hit the nail. Excuse me, right on the head with that, Williams. Not only is this our 20th anniversary episode, but it is our nation's 248th birthday. Yeah, reminds me of the meme, Williams, that says something about how you can't just become independent by saying it, and it's a picture of Michael Scott, and it's like, I didn't say it, I declared it.
I love
So,
that.
happy birthday, 248 big ones for the United States.
Happy birthday, America.
Which is kind of crazy because if you think about it, if two people, a father and a son, were both to live to be 100 years old, then they might have a 50-year-old grandson alive today.
Now, honestly, it's weird to think that is not overly long ago.
No, I mean, it's not as long ago as you think. Like, some people have seen like quite a few things. I'm trying to remember. There was a soldier that was actually lived for a surprising length of time. I almost feel like into the 2000s from the Civil War.
Yeah,
I could be wrong on that because
I
that's
don't know
a
about
pretty
that one.
lengthy
Yeah,
amount of time. But there was one that I heard about, or maybe like a soldier's son that I heard about. That's pretty
probably.
long. That's probably what is somebody like a direct relative or something.
I could see that a lot easier.
Yeah, that would make more sense because no, it wouldn't be the 2000s. That was really dumb of me to say.
Yeah,
But
well,
I'm
I
gonna
mean, I
be
was like,
saying
that was like the 1800s.
it was 18 something.
You
Well,
know,
I'm gonna say I'll tell you what though,
was it
Williams.
1840s, 50s? I
I
don't know.
I say a lot of dumb things and I'll say a lot more of them.
Or maybe it's secretly super intelligent. Maybe we got one frozen somewhere.
That's true. Well, good old Captain America type style.
Oh yeah, but Civil War. Could you imagine that?
Yeah, yeah. That would be pretty interesting. He's got a wooden shield. He carries a musket.
That'd be so awesome, though.
Um,
He wouldn't last long on a battlefield nowadays, but it'd
no,
still be
no,
awesome.
but he would be cool. His wooden shield would sure give
Yeah.
out pretty quick, but it'd be nice.
It'd probably be already done by the time they're done thawing him.
Yeah, you're right. But Williams, our topic today is Merica.
America.
And its birthday, and pretty much all things Merica. So we're probably going to talk about a long list of things. The 4th of July celebration, some United States trivia. We're going to test how
I
you're
dig it.
doing. And
I
then
dig it.
we'll talk about maybe some of the concepts that we feel like might have drawn people here and might be key to our success as a country. So we're just going to cover a few things. Williams, I will. I think we're gonna start with the trivia section.
Okay,
That
I
seems
dig
to
it.
make the most sense to me. Kind of get us in the mood, you
Yeah,
know.
get us
Feeling
to a good
feeling
place.
nice and agile, nice and patriotic. Okay, so this is from Sign Up Genius. This is where we're getting
Ooh,
all these questions from. Sign Up Genius from trivia.com something
and
something
how do we
something.
know they have the right answers?
We don't. We're just going to trust them because they're on the internets and we know
We're
that
accepting it on faith.
everyone is that everyone on the internets is true. All right, Williams. This is a tough one. I will warn you, it's a bit of a trick question based on how they do it. It says, when did Christopher Columbus land in what would later become the United States?
Hmm. Oh, he never did because it wasn't the U.S. that he landed in.
Yes, that's what they say.
That was tricky. I was like, what was the trick part of this?
Yeah,
And then I
yeah.
was like,
You're like,
oh,
why is that a trick
oh.
question? Yeah, they say he didn't. Most historians agree he landed in parts of Central and South America.
There's a lot of hate on our boy Columbus,
I
and I
know.
understand that not everything he did was great, but also, I mean, he did accomplish something.
That's fair.
I don't
I
know.
mean,
I'm kind of torn.
I don't know. I don't know. It's hard because there's a scholar at BYU who talked about there's problems with there being gaps in information
Uh huh.
in the sense that like it's pretty easy to accept certain types of information uh, without researching them when there's a gap, and so anything can be a gap in terms of like for Columbus, the gap is hundreds of years,
Right.
right? So we don't get necessarily firsthand information. We get second, third, fourth hand information that's been passed through like people and people and people.
Uh huh.
And so it's a really hard amount of information to sift through. And so most people don't sift through it themselves personally. They just find out from somebody else who found out from somebody else who found out from somebody else.
Right.
And you can basically create nothing sandwiches out of those pretty easily. So,
I will say Columbus was so I took a history class
huh.
at get my bachelor's degree, and we talked about Columbus, and that was like a hot topic for a little while.
Really?
My professor discussed it, and then we hadn't, because sometimes you get older people who are taking classes, whether they're employees of the university and just have a few free credits, or they're just wanting to better themselves, do whatever. And there was an older lady, probably in her 60s, I think, maybe. And my professor talked about it the day before, and he had kind of treated it, or the couple days before, and he kind of treated it, maybe flippantly is the right word,
Mm.
and just kind of hit Columbus pretty hard.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to us. He says something along the lines of, "So and so reached out and contacted me." And honestly, it was just my thing on Columbus was more of just to keep you engaged and just to get the basic points across.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of controversy around it or whatever, and he allowed the individual to speak her mind and to the class and stuff. That was like a hot
So
button.
the professor came out against Columbus or for Columbus, and somebody else spoke out against him.
Well, kind of against, but not. He was just,
It wasn't
this is what
entirely.
Columbus
He's
did.
more
He
like
just
you've
kind
heard
of
he sailed
highlighted.
the ocean blue,
Yeah,
but here's
he
this.
said this is what they discovered. These are the horrible things that we think he did.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing, but he did it in a manner that was, more for our entertainment. So kind of,
Oh, that's so. It wasn't so
harshly
much.
treating it a little bit.
Yeah.
But still, the lady came up and kind of spoke her mind, more pro Columbus, and I thought that was a fun and kind of important thing that we don't talk about. Like, he did do some good things.
Yeah.
Like everyone, he's a complicated individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did probably some horrible things. I would never excuse that.
No, absolutely.
But
I think there are terrible things done plenty of times. I think to me more the story of Columbus, as I understand it, is more like this led to our great nation. Like
it was a piece.
it was a piece. Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it was not the main piece, but
No, but he gave us a
it
start.
was like it was like step one. And so I didn't know them personally, and like I said, there's a lot of information out there from various sources, and it all can be twisted and turned in various ways based on where you get it. But
100%.
personally, I like to believe he's a good guy. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Um, let's see here. Where was I on this?
I think that was the
Oh,
first
this
one.
is that. It was the first one, but some of these are really stupid, so
Okay.
I'm kind of skipping through them.
Are they all trick questions?
No, they're not all trick questions, but some of them are like. Well, first I looked up a site before this that was like trivia in the United States, and I feel like it was supposed to be for foreigners because it was like, did you know that Washington D.C. is not actually a state? And I was like,
Oh.
oh, very nice. And they're like, the United States is made up of 50 states, and I was like,
No,
wow,
no way.
yeah. Did you know
Give me those
USA
questions
is the
first.
stand? Is USA stands for the United States of America?
They're like, here's a million facts on the United States.
Yeah, no, seriously, and they were like all really basic.
That's
So,
wild.
okay, Williams, we're gonna give you a really easy one.
Okay.
What was the name of the pilgrim of the first, or what was the name of the pilgrim's ship? I don't know if they were the first one, but it's a famous one. I'll tell you
The
that.
Mayflower.
Yep, the Mayflower.
I'm trying to remember what the others were because I think at one point we covered them.
Um,
Does it say on there?
what's that?
Does it say what the other ships were?
No, it
Oh,
doesn't. Um,
I think there were three of them.
how many people were killed in the Salem witch trials? Kind of a random one.
I want to say not enough, but that's definitely the wrong answer. That
Yeah.
was a joke.
That's why you're a
joke.
dirty dog, William.
Exactly.
Says,
No, the way some witch trials were a horrible thing.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna say I doubt more than 20. I'm gonna guess right around 20.
Dang, Williams, you're good. 20 people were executed
Are
for
you
suspicion of
serious?
witchcraft. Yeah, usually by hanging and not by burning.
Oh,
And
really?
5 more died in jail. Oh, so you missed 5, but we're gonna give
Well,
it to you. You got
yeah.
the first number. That's pretty dang solid.
That so does it say how many died of hanging versus
No,
burning,
it just
or
says most of them were hanging.
that's kind of an intriguing, weird part of American. It's not even a large part of American history. I will say 20 people died, and that's horrible. But it didn't seem to be like it was one city, as far as I'm aware,
Yeah,
and they just got a little spooked.
yeah. I don't think it was a big thing, which is funny because pretty much everyone's heard
Yeah,
of the
everyone's like,
Salem
"Oh,
witch
the
trials.
Salem witch trials. It was a huge
Yeah,
thing."
yeah,
And 20 people died, or 25. 5 died in prison.
yeah. Williams,
20 were a little bit
here,
more maliciously
here's one
killed.
that's fun for you. How many people were killed in the Boston Massacre?
Oh my goodness. It's 15 or 115, or 5. I know it's one of those three.
Williams, you got to pick one of them.
One of them, right?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I'm gonna. He's nodding yes. 5.
You're right. It is 5
That's right.
people.
That
It
was
was not
that.
115.
I was like, wait. I know there's a 5 in there,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's right. Didn't they? Like they weren't sure kind of who started it, right? Because it was the British lined
Yeah.
up,
Well, both.
and then like the settlers were there, and they were all upset because
Yeah.
I believe it was before Boston Harbor.
Both sides claimed totally different things. The
Yeah.
British claimed that they were attacked with rocks and acting in pure self-defense because they thought they were going to be overrun and their muskets taken. And the colonists claimed that they were just peacefully out there minding their own business and they just
Well,
fired on a crowd.
we know that neither of those is probably true.
It's probably a mixture of both. There may have been some rocks thrown,
Mm-hmm.
but I doubt that it was like a full on thing. I did a little bit of a study on the history of the Revolutionary War,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of funny. Those were rowdy people. Like they were
The
rowdy
Americans?
people, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which is why, as a country, I think we have kind of this. Even still, we're kind of moving away from it. But
A
as a
rowdy,
country,
defiant streak.
we have kind of like a defiant streak as a country. Those guys they were rowdy, and like the governors would make laws they didn't like, and they would go out with a mob to their tree, and they would put a scarecrow that looked like the governor in their clothes and hang it.
Oh yeah. You used to be able to get messages across back then.
Yeah, no, and they did all sorts of stuff like that, and there would be like people. It's so funny too because they'd know that they were gonna die, but they just were so like into it, and so they believed in their cause. So
Mhm.
there would be people during the war or shortly leading up to it that would pretty much be like in a crowd of 20 people, and they'd be talking smack and getting brawls and all this different stuff.
No, I have a point on. So I was earlier today because I knew that you talked about maybe us discussing America and its
Uh
history and
huh.
stuff. You said to kind of go back through a little bit of the Revolution or whatever. I was
Yeah.
looking up because I remember Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
Hardly ever. I feel like that's a part that we kind of talk less about now.
Yeah.
But they were like, yes, betraying the budding state of America is a horrible
Well,
thing, and he had done a lot for America prior to that.
well, that's what I listened to a podcast. I actually give it a shout out. It's called History That Doesn't Suck, and he kind of changes the stories to be more of like a storytelling format with sources and stuff.
Uh huh.
And I feel like does a really good job. But he talks about in there how Benedict Arnold was like saved a battle or two
Well,
just through
yeah.
his valor and received very little to no recognition. And he personally believes that Benedict Arnold may have taken that as a personal insult, which eventually
Well,
led to
I'm
his
sure he
betrayal.
did. you know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because there was one battle in particular that he was reported to have really like gone all in and got injured very badly and all this stuff, and then received very few honors for.
Well, here's the thing. It's a it's a sad truth that sometimes what you do is easy to slip through the cracks.
Yeah,
And if you're a good guy who is upright, not everything that you do will be lauded,
sure.
for better or for worse. But I say that if you're truly committed to your cause and really loyal to what you're doing,
Yeah,
then you're just gonna suck it up a bit.
yeah.
Um, so I kind of get it. And from the sounds of it, his wife died. I don't know what happened to his 3 children that he had with her.
His
But
wife didn't die till after, I don't think,
oh, I thought it was before.
because she pretended to be crazy on the day he left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she
Because
did.
I thought he betrayed in '79. I thought she had died in '75.
No, so he, if the story I'm remembering is correct, he went to George Washington's house for breakfast, and while he was there, he got a note from a trader or something that told him that he was suspected and that they had found him out. And
Well,
so he found that
yeah.
out and ran. And his wife was there with George Washington and like all these other people and began to act crazy. Actually, no, I think they were at his house, actually, if I remember right.
Oh,
They
Benedict's
were there,
house.
yeah, I think they were at Benedict Arnold's house. And so,
How do
uh,
you talk to George
yeah,
and then betray the nation?
no,
Not
seriously.
only is like George like kind of the face, but
Yeah.
also he sounded like one scary guy for the time.
Well, not only was he scary, but he was very respected and well
Uh
liked.
huh.
So, like, he was, for that time, I think was he 6'1" or 6'5" or
Somewhere in there, I
he
don't
was
know.
well. I remember him being a giant in that time,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is back then 6'1" was pretty dang big, but I can't remember if he was like a giant, like he was like 6'5". Yeah, we'll search it real quick.
Well, yeah, but
Go
to
ahead.
me the
Sorry, I didn't
whole
mean
the
to
whole
cut you
thing
off.
is wild. But what gets me though, talking about kind of the defiant streak a bit. So
He was
after
6'2", by the way.
1783, oh,
He was 6'2",
that's not bad.
which back then, yeah, but back then that's huge.
No, I'm sure he was towering above her. What was the
Yeah.
average height? Like five something.
Let's look at.
But I wouldn't want to betray Georgia.
No, I wouldn't either.
But supposedly it was some spy that we caught of the British's, and he had some note on him or something that implicated Benedict Arnold, and we're like, And Benedict is like, I got to make a break for British lines. And supposedly he was supposed to give up a particular fort or something as part of his deal with the British,
Yeah, he
but he
was.
wasn't able to because he got found out, and so they only gave him a part of what they were going to give him.
So
And then he helped lead the British armies in a few battles.
the average was 5'8", which
That's
is
a
taller
good.
than I thought.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's a 4-inch gap.
that's pretty good. That's what, at least half a head.
Yeah, he was renowned for being a very big man, which I
Yeah.
imagine probably helped back then with the hand to hand combat. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut
Yeah.
off your story.
No, but so this is from the History Channel website or whatever. I was
Yeah.
reading through about this earlier, and so it talked about how after the Treaty of Paris, he went and lived in England,
Mm-hmm.
and how the rest of his life, the British society wasn't quite sure about him. They were kind of pro and con. Like, they didn't know what to think really, and so he didn't get much from them. And then also his his countrymen in America hated him.
Yeah.
And Benjamin Franklin talking about the defiant streak and stuff and the wild streak. Benjamin Franklin said this or wrote this. Okay, quote: Judas sold only one man, Arnold 3,000,000.
Oh, jeez.
Comparing Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus Christ, to
To Benedict
to
Arnold.
Benedict or Arnold to Judas, but
That's insane.
pretty wild.
The thing that I heard is that, funny enough, like Benedict Arnold was a traitor and everything,
Uh-huh.
and everyone like in America kind of hated him. But
Which
he
I mean,
actually was rewarded
understandable.
pretty well in Britain and like went on to live okay.
Well, yeah, but he wanted, I think, a lot more than he ended up
Probably.
getting. I think that he could have gotten more. Maybe
No,
not if he
probably.
had stayed and actually continued to help out because he did do a lot. I think he may have received more recognition after the war
Yeah.
and perhaps gotten more in terms of land. And I don't know, but
Yeah, I think the British treated him fairly well after he became a
I don't
turncoat.
think they did bad. But I
He's
don't think it
America's
was what
most
he
famous
had wanted.
turncoat.
Yeah, and being labeled as a traitor, like having your name basically synonymous with traitor.
Yeah,
Oh, you're a Benedict Arnold. Like, how cutting is that?
that's pretty cutting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, what was I gonna say, Williams?
Sorry, I didn't
I
mean to.
No, you're good. I'm glad. I'm glad you researched it, and honestly, I didn't have as much time to prepare as I would like. So much appreciated, Williams.
I got your back.
Good man. Let's move on to the next one. This one's kind of interesting. I know this, but I don't know if you'd guess if you asked me off the cuff if I would have known the name. Um, so what were colonists protesting with the Boston Tea Party? What act was it,
I want to say
or
it
what's it
was
called?
the stamp.
Good man. That's it. The Stamp Act, and it's a British tax on print
Yeah.
materials such as stamps and newspapers. Um, it's kind of funny to me how long the lead-in to the actual revolution cost, or was. What was I? What am I saying?
How long it was?
Oh, how long it was? Because there was a few years of build-up.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was.
Also, in studying all these things, when I listened to that podcast and did a little bit of study on the Revolutionary War,
Mm-hmm.
it's really no surprise to me that we did have a civil war. Because back then, it was like if a large group of people disagreed, they were like, "Let's go to war!" Like that's kind of like how it felt where they were talking about it. They're like, there wasn't really any superior force per se that was so superior that you couldn't get a group of people.
And kind of
Yeah,
push it back.
yeah, and especially after if there had been a superior force, it would have been the British, and then we beat the British, and so at that point,
Part of their problem too is they were so far away trying to control
absolutely, absolutely. Well,
our
if
the
the British
colonies.
had really wanted to, I think they could have won.
I think they would have overstretched themselves. They were already hurting for cash, which is why they were
Which is
taxing it so
why,
hard.
yeah, they had the issues. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, what city was the first capital of the United States?
Oh my goodness.
Take a wild guess, and you'll probably be right.
New York.
Yep,
Yeah, that was right. Yeah.
that's it.
I was like, what is it? And I was like, realized.
Yep. When was the first American currency created? I don't expect you to necessarily
Ooh.
know this.
Oh, is it wanting a year?
Yeah, once a year.
Oh, I don't know
You don't
what
want
year it is.
Well, it's 1775, and the
Is
reason
that
why
a nationally recognized currency or just currency from independent banks?
well, the Continental Congress it says Continental
Oh,
Congress began issuing paper money called Continentals after the Revolutionary War began in 1775.
is that what they used to pay the soldiers?
Yeah, but I know for years they had trouble
Backing that?
backing that. Yeah, like George Washington pretty much put his house and all of his belongings behind that currency and all this different stuff. And they had a real hard time with it for a long time, even up to after the war when they had all these veterans who needed to be paid and the country was broke. So even after we got the British to leave, we had a long way to go.
100%.
And there was even a revolution that happened for a little bit. Um,
The early nation or organization building, it seemed like whenever they were trying to get their currency and stuff under control, it was a wild ride for the first while.
Yeah, yeah, it was an interesting time period for sure. Um, let me think. Let me see here. we're still skipping some of these. Some of them are easy or trick questions, like this one here. When was the Declaration of Independence signed? The trick question, I'll tell you right now.
Okay. If I oh,
You want me to just tell you? Do you know?
I know that there's some story about how the Declaration of Independence, something about hiding it in a tree, but I think that was after it was signed. Yeah, tell me what it's
So it
what's
says
wanting.
August 2nd, 1776. The final draft was completed July 4th, but it wasn't actually signed until nearly a month later. Which makes sense because that's what I heard. Everyone who signed the Declaration of Independence, they weren't all there. So there's the
So
big,
some
there's the
people
famous
started
story of
signing
John
it.
Adams signing his
John
name.
Hancock.
John Hancock, sorry, John Hancock signing his name all big.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Bit of
but
a show off.
not everybody was actually there. Only some of the representatives were there. Let's see here. Some people believe that Continental Congress member Francis Hopkinson may have actually been the true creator of the first American flag. He claimed credit for it and even sent a bill to Congress for the design, claiming
A
that
bill to come.
yeah,
Imagine that trying to fly a while
yeah,
back.
yeah,
Hey Congress, I actually made this. Rumor
yeah,
has it. So
yeah. So some people believe he made it. What was Hopkinson's fee for creating the flag? A quarter cask of wine.
oh well, I say pay it.
Yeah, I agree. Give that man
If
what he
that's all he
wants.
wants.
Yeah, exactly.
At first, I thought it was ridiculous, but no, I say
You're like, I'm on board with
yeah,
it.
that's what he wants. Give it to him. I'm pretty sure that was doable.
Williams, who was the shortest serving United States president?
I want to say there's one who gave a speech in the rain and caught pneumonia, or he gave a super long inauguration speech in like not that great of weather, and he died a couple months into his presidency or something.
Wait, what was the name? I'm sorry.
I don't know what name.
It was
Who?
William Henry Harrison,
Oh, then maybe I.
who got sick and
Okay,
died 31 days into his term after being elected in 1841.
okay. So it was in the 1800s still. I didn't
Yep,
realize it was
yep,
that.
which makes sense. What was the bloodiest single day in American history?
That is a wild question because I mean, a lot of stuff happened in our history.
It has.
I do not know what was the bloodiest.
I will tell you.
What massacre?
I'll research this in a minute when you're
Yeah,
talking about something. But actually, I'll give you a hint. Um, the
I don't go through
Civil
U.S.
War.
history going through.
Well, the Civil
Oh,
War
was it part of the
overall
Civil War?
was incredibly more bloody
Was
than
it a
any
particular
other
battle?
part. Yes, it
Oh,
was. So
hold
you
on.
probably won't. Okay.
A It was one particular town. They were holding it really hard. I remember like stories of like there being so many dead soldiers and stuff that they were trying to drink water from the stream, and they were spitting and throwing it back up because it was. And they looked at it in the light, and it was
And it was blood.
blood,
Oh,
essentially. Well, blood in water. Gettysburg?
no.
No.
Gettysburg. That was the first one, right?
What?
Or no, the first one was the Battle of Bull Run.
Yeah, that was a bit. I know Gettysburg is where they did the Gettysburg Address, but I didn't know if that was the. What is it?
It is one moment. It is the battle. I lost my page. 1 second. Did I just close that?
I don't know.
I think I just closed it. It was like the
We may never
Battle of
know.
Antietam.
Uh, and yeah, I'm trying to remember the name.
Give me 1 second. I'm trying. The Battle of Antietam. Antietam. During the Civil War. How many people were killed in that battle? 22,654 Union and Confederate soldiers were wounded
Maybe it
or
wasn't the one I was
killed.
thinking about.
So 22,000 people died that day, which is insane.
Well, when
But
was it
real
in the
quick,
timeline of the Civil War?
so I don't know. I don't. That doesn't.
Oh,
They're just brief little snippets. But I looked up while you were talking how many people died in the Civil War. 620,000. And then we're gonna look up World War II because last time I heard the figure, um,
there was more in the
it
Civil.
was incredibly like it was incredibly higher in the Civil War because they say that it was kind of the first war of modern technology. um, of more modern technology, I should say. So people died a ton
Mm-hmm.
from just things they didn't understand, crossfires, just all this different
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
According to the National World War II Museum, the United States suffered 416,800 military and civilian deaths in World War II.
Less than the 620.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's kind of crazy thing.
But then again, when both sides are kind of part of your,
That's I think where it really comes down to it. So if you go into the
still it's a big number. If you even if you cut that in half, it's 100,000 short of how many we lost in World War II.
it was 200,000. Oh, you didn't cut it in half. Okay, that makes sense. I lost you for a second. Um, who's the Confederate president during the Civil War?
Oh, I know this. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I'm not sharp right now.
That's okay.
Hold on. Give me a second here. Man alive. I know. Remember? No, you never served in on the Gulf Coast, did you? When
No,
you
I
were on the
never
mission.
did.
Right there is his house,
Oh,
actually.
really?
Yeah, it was in or close to one of my areas. I almost visited it. Oh my goodness.
Do you want me to tell you?
No, but
Okay, I'll give you another question.
okay.
Um, let's see here. This one I'll give you an easy one, so you don't have to think about it too much. What is the name of the theater where President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by
Ford.
John Wilkes Booth? Yep, Ford Theater. Okay, so you have the answer. I know you had like 2 seconds to think about it. Who gave? Okay, we'll give you.
I know there's a J involved.
Yep. What if I
I
give you
want
the
to say
first
it's
name?
almost like Jackson,
If I give you the first
but
name, will you have the last?
probably
Jefferson.
Davis.
Yep, you got it. Jefferson Davis
Yeah.
was a Confederate
Sorry.
president. No,
I don't
you're
know what.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I
I
don't,
would have known that
I don't
one,
know
to
if it's
be
just because
honest.
I'm tired or
You're fine.
this is a late
I'll
podcast.
forgive you. The dirty dogs won't.
My own kind do not
And the
forgive
silly
easy.
gooses, we're very forgiving. Although we will hold it against you later.
Well, okay.
That's interesting because this has a totally different figure than the Google does.
What?
This is how many Americans were killed in World War II.
Well, we talked about
We
four
did,
hundred
but it's a
thousand.
different number on this one.
What does it say?
It says 1.3 million.
Did it say Americans or does it say how many people died?
Nope, it says Americans.
I
Which
think they misread
I think
something.
they meant that's how many people died
Some of me is starting to
overall.
not trust the site Starks.
Yeah, maybe we'll move on from it. I also think um, some of their stuff is kind of stupid. So, all right, Williams. Well, you did excellent.
Well, thank you.
I will
I wish I'd
say,
done a little slightly better, but
well, it's very specific, and I feel like history is less of a focus today. Maybe it's not, but it feels like it is sometimes
yeah.
as we get further and further and further. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the fourth because there's this quote that I love. And this quote is from a letter from John Adams to Abigail Adams.
His wife.
Yes, exactly. And this one is honestly awesome sauce. So he actually said this about the 3rd of July because they were mostly done with the Declaration of Independence, and everyone kind of thought it was going to be done on the 3rd, but it wound up being done on the 4th. But he said, I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shoes and games, sports, guns, bells, bonfires, and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore. You will think me transported with enthusiasm, but I am not. I am well aware of the toil and blood and treasure that it will cost us to maintain this declaration and support and defend these states. Yet through all the gloom I can see the rays of ravishing light and glory. I can see that the end is more than worth all the means, and that posterity will triumph in the day's transaction, even although we should rue it, which I trust in God we shall not.
Amen.
Amen, indeed. I love that the
You
4th
said
of
that was
July,
John to Abigail?
John Adams to Abigail is what the page says. Um, there's some other ones, but I didn't really get the chance to read through them. But I love that it's kind of like perfectly describing the 4th of July even today, 250 years later. Is that not awesome?
That, I mean, to knowing how we've maintained that.
That tradition.
Yeah. And you do hear about it a lot. I want to say, because I did a project in elementary school, I think it was fifth grade or something, on the state of Idaho.
Oh,
Do you know
good
when they
man.
became a state? Like the official day?
It was like 180 something, 1802 was it?
Well, I don't know about the exact year, but it was July 3rd. They wanted it to be July 4th to be synonymous with the nation's, with the 4th of July, but the federal government said no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they changed it to the 3rd. Maybe it's the 5th
Oh,
even.
also
It's right
1802
around
is
there.
definitely not right. I'm a terrible
For
Idahoan.
what?
For the
Oh, for the
date.
year?
Yeah, because the pioneers didn't really move west until like the 1840s.
And yeah, it was founded a lot after.
Maybe it was 1902.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my that actually that sounds right. 1902 or three,
Nope,
2 or
it's
3.
1890.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Did I get the day right?
July 3rd, 1890. Yep. Um,
But yeah, so it was a huge thing, and something. I mean, it's still something I think treated with reverence by and large. Maybe I part of me wants to say a little bit less now than maybe we did, or maybe we just do it
I
celebrate
think
things differently in general. So
Maddie and I had an interesting conversation on July 4th
yeah,
where I feel like sometimes the celebration itself loses a little bit of its meaning because people are like, "Ooh, we blow things up and we have barbecues and all that stuff," but they don't necessarily focus so much on
it's more
like,
of a day off to get with family than it is.
yeah, yeah, exactly, and that's a good thing, but
That's part of the American tradition and experience, I think.
yeah, well, it's like a tradition that's been around so long that it starts to lose a little bit of the reason why it started, right? And so for me, I think I could be wrong. I think there are plenty of people who are still really patriotic about it and
Well,
all that and everything. It just feels like, and maybe people just talk about it more when you're kids, but it just feels like as a kid I heard more about like this is why we are celebrating this and so on and
mm-hmm.
so on. And that could very well be because your parents are like, this is why we're celebrating, and then once you know, nobody feels the need to talk about it, right?
Right. I mean, sometimes I love the 4th of July. It's top 2 favorite holidays for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I love this country a lot. And I think about it a lot. Uh, Past 4th of July's, I think I put more of a focus in. But even this 4th of July, after I go home from the celebration and stuff, I
Mm-hmm.
just kind of I took some time to ponder over the nation, what our founders have done, the shoulders that we stand on,
Yeah.
and I thought about the Pledge of Allegiance, and kind of recited it to myself a little bit, and
Did
and I
you did you want to recite that for us, Williams?
do you want me to?
Yeah, do it. If you want, you can look it up. I know it's hard sometimes when you're on the spot, but I just think sometimes we even with that it becomes rote, where we
Mm-hmm.
don't focus on the wording so much and what it means.
No, it's good to ponder it. So it goes: I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I've heard it broken down several times by different individuals, sometimes in a flashy or showy manner, and it's intriguing. And there's a lot of controversy about it now. And I don't think schools even do it every day anymore. Even when I
Mm-hmm.
was in school,
Mm-hmm.
they were kind of starting to branch away from every day, and they're like maybe once a week. Even that they didn't really hold to all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and and that is kind of painful for me. Um, I, just because I think about the people who have sacrificed their lives for our nation, and that flag and that pledge. Um, Even if you don't agree with it wholeheartedly, I think it's still something to maybe respect. I don't know.
I agree. Well, it's become something of a political subject. Um,
Sure, but I think we're all
but
Americans, you know.
no, no, exactly, and that's what I was about to say. Is I think it's become something of a political subject, but I really don't think it should be. To your point, like a lot of people really did
Yeah.
die for this,
You don't
and
have to agree with all
yeah,
the
it's
pledge or whatever, I guess.
yeah, yeah, but it's also it's 200 years later now, and so I think some people are like, yeah, they would have died anyway, but like they only got the one life,
Yeah,
right?
and they
And
sacrificed
they
it early.
sacrificed it, yeah, for us, you
Uh-huh.
know,
They thought
and
about their families, and we're a lot of it. We're all part of their family by being Americans, I think,
yeah,
in a way.
I want to reread um, this segment from John Adams' letter. It says, "You'll think me transported with enthusiasm, but I am not. I am well aware of the toil and blood and treasure that it will cost us to maintain this declaration and support and defend these states. Yet through all the gloom, I can see the rays of lavishing light and glory. I can see that the end is more than worth all the means, and that posterity will triumph in that day's transaction. Even although we should rue it, which I trust in God, we shall not." I think this John Adams character sounds like someone I'd get along with. I like that he started out talking about how much it was going to cost, and then he talked about kind of the brighter side of life,
Hmm.
the optimism part. But
I think that's important because a lot of times we can get mired down like, oh, America's not what it used to be. I think
absolutely,
America is kind of what we make it.
absolutely. Well, that's the fundamental idea of this country was the land of opportunity.
Yeah, you can
It's
become whatever you want to
whatever you
become,
want
kind
to
of
be,
thing.
exactly, and it's a place where you can go, and people who are born paupers can become princes,
Yeah,
and
it's not perfect, and not everyone who wants to do that will be able to do that.
mm-hmm.
Um, but it's a better shot than every other nation, I think,
Oh, by far. Well, and the reality is, in our country today, I do think most people
can do
that
whatever
can
they put
can
there.
can become princes if it's worth sacrificing a lot of other things for to them. And that's the real question: is how much are you willing to sacrifice to become a prince? Or to
Hmm.
become rich in terms of worldly means, right? Because if you think about it, if you actually work day in and day out and make that your whole goal, you're going to get it. Now, I don't think it's necessarily worth that. I don't think that wealth is necessarily worth that level of dedication in many cases because there's more important things like family
Hmm. But
and
that's another thing that America promotes.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
it's a
So
great land of opportunity to start a family and have I think, a place that you can live and be happy. Have children that are educated. All these things. I
no,
don't know.
no, seriously, I agree with you, and I think that there's a lot of people. It's funny because in America, I feel like we hear a little bit less about the American dream and about land of opportunity and all this stuff than you used to,
Mm-hmm.
especially back in the day when everyone was moving here. These were poor people who sold everything they had to come to the land of opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
A lot of cases, at least.
absolutely, yeah, in many cases. And other times they were shipped out by other countries as kind of refugees and stuff, which is funny. It goes back to what I was talking about. I kind of think American roots are a really tough, hard nosed people. And so sometimes I wonder if we're going to get hit hard enough with something that that's going to kind of bring that back out of our
Awaken
genes.
it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I think that that's kind of a core part
I
of
mean,
us as a people.
yeah. I mean, I hope that nothing horrible happens.
Yeah,
But yeah, if it ever were to,
oh yeah, I don't want. I want to be clear on that. I
yeah.
don't. I'm not. I'm not saying something terrible happens. I just mean sometimes it seems like we're particularly soft, And there's a part of me that wonders that if anyone were to test how soft we were, if we would kind of let them know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, hey, I like that Toby Keith song.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's just kind of a fun song, but he talks about,
this
you mess with,
sleeping dog.
yeah, you rattle our cage. Well,
Yeah,
you'll be sorry. We'll put, we'll do all kinds of stuff.
yeah. The U.S. of A.
Yeah, we'll release our Florida men on you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think at its core, the American people, and what's funny is I don't think there's any like pure bloodline or anything like that that came here. I think it's the type of people that were drawn here were tough people who wanted to make a life for themselves and for the generations after them. And that sort of culture, that sort of genetics, whatever you think it is, whether it's nature or nurture, are the things that drew people here. And then once the people were here, they were tough SOBs, right?
100%. They'd been through the fire.
Absolutely. So, Williams, I can see you've got something to open up in a book. Are
Yeah.
you wanting to show us anything?
I mean, if you want, I can share a couple of things. So this is a little John Wayne's probably my favorite actor, I think, of all.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I like his movies a lot. Um, but my parents got me this little. It's like a magazine type book. It's fairly short, not a ton in it. A lot of
Uh-huh.
quotes. Um, but on the more positive side of things, here's a John Wayne quote. Because who better to quote than John Wayne on matters of America?
Good man, Williams.
He said, "Just give the American people a good cause, and there's nothing they can't lick."
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a simple thing, but I think if we internalize that a little bit and realize that you just gotta have pride in what we are, Americans. So
Well, Williams, I appreciate that.
yeah,
And I think I really like that quote and what it represents.
yeah. And,
Oh, go ahead.
uh,
Go
if
ahead,
you want, I can
Williams.
share a couple more.
No, go ahead. Give us your favorites.
But I mean, there's only like four of them total.
Oh, okay.
I'll probably read three of them if that's okay. Here's
Yep.
one along the lines of what we're talking about. This is by Patrick Wayne, John Wayne's son. What my father loved best about America was the opportunity. He's the paradigm for the American dream, available to everyone driven to succeed. And if you think about it, he kind of, he's this young man. I don't think he had much in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He started out just, I think, helping move sets, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I want to say his first part that he ever played in a film, he accidentally walked into the wrong set or something while they were filming.
Really?
Yeah, and it just kind of took it.
That's funny.
And I think here's a little something that Marino Harris said on John Wayne that kind of, maybe I'll read four quotes. That kind of, I think is something to kind of maybe strive for in a way. I don't know. John Wayne isn't perfect like everyone else,
Yeah.
but he was an American and a prominent one at that.
Yeah.
To the people of the world, John Wayne is not just an actor and a very fine actor. John Wayne is the United States of America. I beg you to strike a medal for Duke and to order the president to strike it. And I feel that the medal should say just one thing: John Wayne, American.
Oh, wow.
This is by from Maureen O'Hara. That I guess she told to the Congress. Maureen O'Hara was his co-star in a few different films and knew him pretty well from that. Um, but I think that was just a prominent part of his character. He loved the country, and I think he spoke out a lot for it and did a lot of. I don't know everything that he did for it, but he did certain things that he thought were right to try and help it, I suppose. And here's the last quote that I have from John Wayne on the matter. My hope and prayer is that everyone know and love our country for what she really is and what she stands for.
That's beautiful.
And I think that's just a nice little tidbit.
No, I think that's amazing. Thank you for sharing, Williams.
Yeah.
I I will say I feel like this was a bit of a I feel like our podcast took a bit of a downward turn in terms of like a more pessimistic look where we're like I feel like some of these things aren't necessarily valued as much as they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily want to end on that note, right?
No.
So I want to talk about just how we feel about this country and the opportunities presented to us. Because we've talked a lot about people's sacrifice. We've talked a
Mm-hmm.
lot about some of the differences that we see today and back then and different stuff. And obviously, everyone kind of laments their generation or the generation coming up after them and all that stuff.
It's a constant
It
cycle.
it really is. So you're
You
like,
look down on generations that come after you, and you go, "Back in my day, we
yeah,
appreciated things
yeah,
more. I
absolutely.
had it a lot worse."
Yeah, exactly. Well, back in my day, we had to put the VCR all the way in the
Yeah,
TV.
I had to
That was
stand
so
up and
hard.
press the buttons of the
Yeah.
TV. I didn't have a remote. Shout out to my parents.
In fact, I
I
had to
was
push the
the
buttons
remote.
for my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I really think it's funny because we do live in the land of opportunity. We have the opportunity to do a lot of things, to become wealthy, to do tons of things, to be incredibly well educated and do like for me, I'm gonna have a major in business, and I currently fix people's walls.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have tons of people like that in regular society who have master's degrees. Even I was talking to my brother the one day, and he's gonna have a master's degree, and he works at UPS.
I
And
was talking to him too when we went camping a few
yeah,
weeks back. I was like, he's just if he's doing it, I think more for his own edification than for
oh, absolutely.
anything else.
Taylor loves education, and he's an awesome dude like that. So
Mm-hmm.
he enjoys the education, and his work provides it. So
He does
just
it,
getting it. Yeah,
which is pretty admirable, I
no,
think.
it's awesome. So so basically, the point is that it is a beautiful thing that these men, and to John Adams' quote, he knew the cost it was going to be. It's going to be friends, it's going to be family, it was going to be all this stuff. And some people lost everything in the Civil War or in the
Mm-hmm.
Revolutionary War. I apologize. Some people lost everything in the Civil War too, which is kind of a continuation of a similar battle. What's the American dream going to be, right? Some people lost everything in the Revolutionary War. And they lost everything to give all of us everything as well. That it was basically their sacrifice that gave strangers to them like hundreds of years in the future the opportunity to do, the things that we do and to prosper as much as we had. And it was not a it was not a wasted sacrifice either.
No, look at our great nation.
Absolutely. Well, and I personally believe um the evolution, the growth of our nation has also propelled the growth of the rest of the world
Mm-hmm.
in many ways. And we're not perfect. There are many opportunities. If it has oil jokes about America, there are
Yeah,
many like arguments you could make for officials and other things.
we're not a perfect nation. I don't
Absolutely.
think we necessarily claim to be. We're
Well,
just a good one.
and we're not governed by perfect people. And
No.
so I was having this conversation with my cousin the other day. Was to say like I said like, well, just because we have officials who haven't acted upon our founding principles doesn't mean the principles are bad. It means they were not treated well, like
Mm-hmm.
they weren't actually followed, right?
Right.
So, what are your thoughts, Williams? Would you like to add anything to that?
I kind of get a little bit more sentimental when I think about and talk about the nation and things
Hmm.
because it really is near and dear to me, and I think about all the liberty. I have a lot of family who served in the military and things, and my grandparents on both sides and stuff,
Hmm.
um, or great grandparents on one side and farther back, and grandparents on the other, um, and seeing, especially my grandfather, he served in Vietnam, and I know that's something of a controversial war. I think that we had, but regardless, we had it, and we lost a lot of good men doing it.
Yeah.
Um, but the way I watch him treat the flag and our country and other veterans and the people who died serving our country, the way there's a little catch in his voice, and you can see him like trying not to shed tears, and hearing him talk about it all, it always stirs something inside me. I don't think that's something that'll ever go away from me. Um, and I've never seen war. I don't know what it's like to be on the battlefield and losing the friends I've just made, my comrades. I think it's different when you're in war too. I think it's more than just friends. You're both fighting and risking your lives for a particular cause, and so in a lot of ways, you're more than friends. You're kind of brothers,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine what it's like seeing them shot to pieces around me and experiencing all that. All I can do, I think, on my part, is try and uphold the values of America as much as I can, whatever I think those are. And I think a lot of them are along the lines of freedom and liberty and justice for all. And I I think a lot about it, and I read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution from time to time just to kind of to keep my mind focused on what I think some of our values should be. And this nation was created by men, but I'm also of a somewhat religious mind, and I think that God had His hand in the formation of this nation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're welcome to disagree with that if you want, but I sure believe it. And I look at all the little miracles that happened along the way, because it really was an uphill battle for for this nation to be forged. And I think it its roots extend far before the revolution. Um, we think of individuals like uh, well, who is the girl in France? You know who I'm talking about? Who fought the battles? Who like led?
You're talking about during the French Revolution?
Yeah. Well, no, it was before the French Revolution. French
Oh.
Revolution happened after the American Revolution.
Yeah, I know. I just wasn't sure. I don't know. I don't know what girl you're talking
Oh
about.
goodness. I was thinking about her earlier, and she was in my mind. Um, oh goodness. I don't care about the movie French Girl. I'm googling this. I know what her name is. I know there's a D in it, but that doesn't really mean anything.
Diff Wench Go. Is that what it is?
You've seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's
No,
the
I
girl.
haven't.
Oh my goodness. But oh my, this is gonna kill me if I don't find out what this is.
Were you not able to
So
find it in Google?
I'm trying to think of what to search to find it.
Who is the French girl in the Revolution? That's how I found the John Adams quote. I'd heard it before, and I just Googled John
But
Adams.
she didn't play a part in our revolution.
So wait, then what is she?
She, French girl. I'm gonna say burned at stake.
Oh,
That should be that should
oh,
pop up.
are you talking about what's her name? Gosh, dang it, Williams! Why
I
did you do
know.
this to me? Um,
I was thinking about the name. Oh, Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you found that, so I didn't have to suffer for too long.
Yeah.
I kept trying to say Ruth.
You look at Joan of Arc, and she seems to have been inspired of God to do what she did. And honestly, if we didn't have France's backing, what they provided, I mean, wasn't. But they did provide, I think, substantial backing. I think it kind of tipped the scales a little.
Well, I can't remember the name of the battle. Is it Jamestown? Was it Jamestown? Where the British surrendered, the French Navy came in because the
Uh-huh.
British were waiting for supplies through the
And
bay,
they sent
and I
I
think it
think
was at
Marquis de
Jamestown.
Lafayette to try and
Yeah,
train our troops, and
yeah.
they did a substantial amount.
They definitely helped quite a bit, and they helped kind of facilitate that last surrender.
And I believe that Joan of Arc, she seems to have been inspired of God to help preserve the French nation. She was a young girl, but I think God used her to preserve the French nation. And then later on, not to say that God did that just to to bring about America, but I think it was orchestrated
By God.
by God. That's my personal belief. Not everyone has to share that, and that gives it an added sense of importance to me. Um, Makes me want to do what I can to preserve it more. Again, it's far from perfect, but just about everything that men have built is.
Yeah.
All we can, I think the best thing that we can do is do our best to preserve it. Helping participate and even just on a local level and thing. I'm not saying do anything great. Not everyone has to run for mayor or whatever,
Yeah.
but just be a good neighbor, be a good friend, be a good member of the family.
Be a good American.
Yeah, figure out what being an American is if you haven't figured it out already, and strive to be. I think it's the best possible thing. Don't be pessimistic and say this is what an American is and list all these horrible things, but think what are the noble things that I want to see in America,
Yeah.
even if you don't necessarily see it right around you. Whenever I think of America, I think of those rural parts where everyone just knows everybody, and it's a family. Um, Small little communities. I think it's easier to lose sight of that in some of our bigger cities and things, but that's still a part of it. And you're right, when tragedies have happened in the past, we've coalesced together and
Mm-hmm.
we've said, we are Americans and we've overcome these things. But no, I just want to reiterate that I love this nation. And it does mean something very special to me.
Well spoken, Williams. Honestly, I think that's the note that we're going to end on. I think Williams spoke very well, and I will say ditto, just to jump on that bandwagon with you. Um, I think to your point, we have a lot of things to appreciate about the sacrifices made and the ideals that have really led us to this point. So, we live in a great nation, a
We
great
do.
country, land of opportunity for you to do many things that other people don't have. That, and I was going to say earlier that I feel like some of that has faded in our personal culture here, but I feel like a lot of other countries still view us in that way.
Right. And I think we can still be that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of just what do we want to see and what are we going to do to see it. But
Absolutely.
it just depends a lot on our action.
Well, I think there's a pendulum generally. On a more brightful note, is like you have a fade, and then you have people realizing things are starting to fade when they get a little bit bad, and then you kind of swing back.
No, I
It's
think
like,
we often focus on the stuff that's not as good, maybe.
yeah,
And so we see a lot of people or we make a point of noticing people who aren't quite seeing the American vision or whatever. But I think there are a lot of people out there who still love this country.
oh,
I
I
think
think
that's a
so.
majority,
I
even.
think so.
I'd say that.
Well, I was thinking just now. I was thinking, we have a very polarizing political environment right now.
Sure, yeah.
Um, and I was thinking about, I was talking about the pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wonder if within the next 10 to 20 years, we're not going to have a very unifying figure emerge from somewhere on the political spectrum who will be sought after by both sides because they want that unity again. Maybe
That's
that's me
intriguing.
being
I have no
optimistic.
idea.
Maybe that's me being optimistic. But that is my role as the silly goose.
I don't have that magic crystal ball, so we will see.
Well, when you get it, let me know.
Uh, it's in the mail.
I think we're going to close up after that. Williams gave us a wonderful speech. Take that home, put it on your fridge, do all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, take out the part where I was doing the Google search.
Yeah, leave that. Take that part out. Leave the rest. But
her name is Joan of Arc, by the way.
Yeah, it's Joan of Arc. We do that all along. We're gonna cut out the whole search section.
Probably not.
Yeah, we probably won't, but we'll think about it. So
should we do like a final toast to our 20th episode? And
let's do it. And to this great nation.
Yeah, my water's empty, but I'm gonna pretend that there's stuff still in there.
No, Williams.
Oh,
let's top you off just a little for this toast here.
Just a little water. Hopefully you don't backwash.
Oh, all the time, Williams. Do you see that lump in there?
Ooh, Hello.
So, before we do our toast, let's discuss our news.
Oh,
So, our
yeah,
next episode, or the one after that, if we have trouble finding a host, because we're going to need a third host for this one,
Oh, yeah, we will.
we're going to be doing Fight Night.
Ooh. And I know what you're thinking, cage match, and how are you going to see it on a video-less episode? Or just an audio podcast?
And we've got the answer for you. CNN will be televising it.
It'll actually be on every major news network.
Yes, exactly. Well, honestly, it'll be on everything. You won't be able to turn on anything without seeing this fight. It's broadly televised and sought after. And spoiler for you guys, I'm going to be killed in the fight. It'll just be dirty dogs, and that's it. That's the name of the podcast after this.
Yep, and we'll be very sad to lose Starks.
Yep.
But his sacrifices for the greater good.
Yep. Got to do it. Got to make it so this podcast lasts.
It's going to avoid
years.
a bloody civil war between our factions.
Absolutely. I will sacrifice. Honestly, we silly gooses are more optimistic anyway. We need the realists in charge for the next part.
As we launch the podcast into the future.
For those of you who follow me, my silly gooses, go on without me. Be optimists, but go into hiding.
And be quiet, because our rules can...
Let me tell you, the dirty dogs, they're vicious, okay?
They forced me into this.
Oh, that's funny.
That was all a joke. The podcast will still be intact as far as we're aware.
Yeah.
Unless
but if I
something
go
tragic
missing
happens.
suddenly, it's not an accident. Just know that. That was a joke as well.
It'll be a debate, Fight Night.
Fight Night will be a debate between Williams and myself. Debates that we've had many sort of in private, where we have many conversations where sometimes one of us or the other will play the devil's advocate, usually not agreed upon, but just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to select two topics. We will place them in a jar and draw whichever one we get. So, no matter whether we agree or disagree, we will be having a debate. And
maybe on the side we agree on, maybe on the side we don't agree on.
Yeah, we have discussed many topics, but to give you guys a hint as to like what it might be like, one of us might be arguing on behalf of Toyota. The other one might be arguing on behalf of Ford. And this is just one of our ideas, so that may happen next week. But one of us, me, is an avid Toyota fan. Williams is an avid Ford fan. So if, for example, we choose those two topics and Williams draws Toyota, he's going to have to come at it with like the
guns a-blazing.
Yeah, guns a-blazing, like a hardcore Toyota fan. And I'll come at it like a hardcore Ford fan with Will.
I would love to see that.
I think it would be really funny. And we will have a week to prepare. So it should be a pretty solid actual debate. Yeah. And we may even, I haven't suggested this to Williams yet, but I think it would be pretty fun to do a mock political debate of some type.
It had to be on something silly and ridiculous.
It would have to be. Well, we don't want to get too serious.
Yeah.
Right. So I just think it would be fun to, I don't know.
Should we have them like send in suggestions?
Yeah, send in suggestions for topics you'd like to hear debated.
Better sooner than later.
Better sooner than later, yes. The sooner you do it, the more likely it is that we'll pick it. And we plan on doing fight nights every so often. So don't be afraid to send in your topics.
I know what you're thinking. They've talked about doing little serious things before. And we still plan on doing the ones that we said that we would.
We do.
Hating dating. That might be very soon. Hey,
back to that
our friend Jocelyn's coming in.
Our Canadian viewership is coming in.
all one of them.
Yep, all one of them. And I believe that we will be... Williams, there's more than one Canadian. There you go, being silly again.
Well, the one who's our friend.
Oh, yeah, the rest of them aren't our friends. We hate them. So, she'll be coming down, and we'll likely do a hating dating episode with her and maybe some others.
Yeah, but we do plan on continuing
we have a couple things in the works. Don't you guys worry.
Sometimes it's hard to get people in the orchestration.
Well, we've been a bit busy. This is my busy season, and Williams just got promoted to a big-time boss man. And so, as things progress, we're getting to them. It's just taking us longer.
Yeah.
So, don't give up on us. And not that you would, because some of you haven't been eating and drinking. I know, I can see you.
And you want to.
If you're doing that, you better eat a buffet every time that our episode comes out. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
It's like it's not a drinking game, but an eating game.
Yeah, exactly.
But you only eat, when the podcast goes.
They're like, so, please release every day.
You only have an hour. Luckily, a week. Hopefully, a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a couple weeks, a month.
We did have 1 or 2 month breaks, but Don't
were
you
so
worry, guys.
diligent at the beginning
We
of this
are
year. We were
still
working on it.
in this. Oh, we are. We're making some changes, guys. So don't you worry. I'm excited for fight night. Williams, are you excited for fight night?
I'm pretty excited.
Always
for
the
Fight Night,
pessimist,
you know?
you.
Yeah, you hesitated.
You hesitated. Yeah.
No, I think it'll be good. I think a lot of it will just be the topics that we choose.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys for joining us for
Should-
Dogs and Gooses.
Do you want to recite a toast, or do you want me to
We're
recite,
gonna-
or do you want both? To?
We can both do a toast, Williams. I'll start, and then you can show me.
All right. Well,
All right. A
I'll add to
toast
it.
to our 20th episode, but far more importantly, to this great nation and all those countless people who have sacrificed their lives so that Williams and I can sit here today as two happy men pursuing the American dream. And aside from that, we can have this podcast where we get to discuss freely what we would like. We can say things that, if we wanted, were very wildly controversial against our government, against our president, against all these things. Now, we probably won't. I mean, Williams might. I see a bit of a wild guy.
It's part of that American thing.
But I personally am just incredibly grateful to live in this country and in this time.
All I have to say in addition is, may we have many more great episodes and many more great years of this nation.
God bless America.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining Dogs and Gooses.
And listen if you want or not. We don't care.